Hey, welcome back, fellow business owner. I'm Alex Glassy, business coach, business prof, and entertainer, an enlightener of the world's most boring topics. Although I hope that you're now seeing that cash flow can be wildly exciting, especially as you now see how it can transform any business's cash flow, but in most particular, your business's cash flow. So now today we're going to do a wrap up. We're going to summarize this thing and give you a list of 10 questions that you should be asking yourself and your bookkeeper or your accountant or consultant, whoever is working with you in your business, to help you improve the state of your cash flow. If you haven't already watched videos 1, 2, 3, and 4, I encourage you to go do that now. It'll make the world a difference. All right. So what I want to do now is get back to the ratios and metrics that we started to take a look at in the last video where we talked about valuation. You see, I've got the same ones here, and we're just going to go through them quickly just to get a recap, right? And to get a feel for how this business is going to change, right? So in year one, right, a familiar face, we see the revenue of $100,000. There's our AR days, inventory days. I'm just looking at Sam's, right? Sam Inc. This has nothing to do with Pat, right? So all of this stuff, can't really value the company in year one. I mean, you can see it has some kind of value, right? $100,000 in 1 year, which is pretty good. There's something going on here. As we move into year two, okay, there's a picture that's starting to emerge, not only of a growing business, but a business that's starting to, you can see there's some improvements being made in certain areas. You can see the business owner, having a sense of confidence. Like you can get that feeling simply because of the investments that they're making in sales and marketing expenditures, right? And the idea of value is starting to appear. Oh yeah, in year one, I couldn't tell. Year two, there's growth, there's cash flow. Those are good things, right? Year three, we've seen this before, right? Clear trend of a well-run operation that has good market acceptance. Customers love this thing. They're paying even higher prices. They're growing. They're buying more, etc., right? That's where we left off. Just for a lark, for a bit of fun, let's take a look at the fourth year. If we were to just keep going in the fourth year with, I'm going to have some caveats, but let's go take a look. And you can see, wow, just by doing nothing else, right? By the growth being exactly the same, by leaving everything else the same, this business is just on a tear, growing way more. Free cash flow almost doubling. Now, you can't, valuation more than doubling. See at the bottom line there, gone from 317,000 to 705,000, right? So a lot of things going on here. First of all, as a business starts to grow, it's going to have to add more expenses in the general and administrative, maybe even R&D. But that general and administrative is going to have to grow for sure. So this is very unlike, a business. There's some businesses that can do that can grow like that, and the valuation just explodes. Tech businesses, online businesses, right? But for most of the rest of us, where we do have cost of goods sold that grows and G&A that has to grow, then, right? But I wanted to put this out there just so you can see, wow, fourth year, fifth year, the thing is just exploding, right? It reinforces the sense of what growth can do to cash flow and valuation, and how much more attractive a business can be when it's got that growth function, right? But it also begs the question, well, why would you sell? Why would you sell at the end of 3 years? And you may not want to. Which is perfect, right? Sam could have got to the end of 3 years and gone, wow, great little business, spitting off cash. I've thought through my fourth year. I know it's going to grow even more. I know it's going to spit even more cash. Maybe what I'll do is I'll start to take some of that cash out for myself and my family, right? Just because the business can afford it. And that would be entirely appropriate. And that would be a decision that Sam could make. I'm not saying should, I'm saying could make. Here's the point though, that if you've got a business, whether you want to sell it or not, if you treat it as a separate entity that you could sell, if you get ready to sell, what it does is it starts to create options for yourself. Who knows what's going to happen in 3 years or 4 years or 5 years? We could lose interest in it, right? After having done something for 5 years, so many entrepreneurs would like to go on to something else, right? Or your family situation could change. Someone got sick, kids needing money for school, you and your spouse wanted to go travel, whatever. If you treat your business as a separate entity and you buff and polish that thing over the course of your time with it, it creates options for yourself. And I think that's the thing to right? Either the options are going to generate into more cash flow every year the longer you keep it, or it's going to turn into one big cash bump at the end of the third or fourth or fifth year when you do decide to sell it, right? So that was a bit of fun. Year 4, year 5, woohoo! So now let's go, what do we do here? Like, what are the advantages of thinking about cash flow? Well, first of all, it unlocks the cash potential that's already in your business so you can sleep nights and stay calm. Cash flow decisions affect our businesses in profound ways. We must look beyond the income statement and bank account to see where cash is hidden. Remember, it's hidden under the bed or in the closet or under the desk, right? All those dark corners. We need to go and be vigorous, alert to go and find those and clean them up. And then cash flow decisions add up. AR plus AP plus inventory added up to a big number in the first year. Remember that? Thinking about cash flow also helps you to accelerate the growth of your businesses, right? Which increases your impact on the world. Your business is there to do something, and now it can do more of that. The metrics and ratios unlock the understanding that you have of your business, of cash flow. Small changes not only add up, but they multiply each other, right? Making an increase in sales and marketing spend, multiply that by an improvement in the return on market spend, generates an increase in sales, which then gets multiplied by the increase of cost of goods sold, right? Which then creates more cash, which then I can then do again. So all these things multiply, positively reinforce each other. It's beautiful. And that leads to the statement that growth, profitability, and cash flow should all improve simultaneously, not just one at the expense of the other, which can happen if you haven't made some of the other cleanup decisions, right? You can grow and your cash can shrink. But as we've seen from Sam, everything's growing simultaneously. All right, thinking about cash flow also maximizes the long-term value of your business, which contributes to your family's wealth and creates options. Cash flow decisions compound over time. Take the advantages that you took in year 1, take the multiplication factor in year 2, and then do that again. And we started to see that in year 3, and then we really saw that in year 4. And we could have just kept growing that line, and it would look astronomical, right? It starts to look silly after a while, but they compound over time. Every cash flow decision made or not made affects the value of your business. And then we saw that how cash flow is the cornerstone of your business's overall value. Cash flow is the cornerstone of your business's overall value, right? How to transform your cash flow. Here's 5 quick steps. Become aware of how important cash flow is. Okay, we've done that. You've hung in there now for 4.5 videos. Good for you. Create a checklist, which I'm going to get to in the next slide. Identify priorities, right? I'm going to give you the next 3 slides actually are going to break out these 10 questions that you should be asking yourself and your bookkeeper and your accountant and everybody else, right? But Rome wasn't built in a day. So if you've got some issues in there, what you want to do is you want to prioritize, right? And then figure out the ones that are like the easy ones. Let's just do those. But also the ones that have create huge impact. Let's go and figure out those as well. So you've got to figure that out, and then let's use this coming year or the coming 90 days or whatever period of time you want to look at, and let's get onto those priorities, improve our cash flow, and then get on to the next one and on to the next one, right? And you know what? Just making a small improvement and seeing the change, like changing the payment terms in your customers, right? And seeing accounts receivable shrink by even 5 days, even 10 days. Right? If you were to shrink your accounts receivable days by 10 days and get it from, and let's say it's $10,000 now, that would put $3,500 into your bank account almost overnight. An additional $3,500, just kind of money that fell from the sky. Beautiful. So identify priorities and get on it. Start now, because every dollar per month improvement that you can make equals $120 over 5 years. Let me show you how that works, right? Every dollar improvement you make now is going to get repeated now over the next 5 years. So that's going to add at 60 months. So that dollar is going to get multiplied by 60. And then if you sell your business 5 years from now, you're going to get potentially five times the annual cash flow, so 5 times the 12 months of a year's cash flow, which is going to equal another $60. Every dollar you make in ongoing cash flow generates $120. Never stop doing this. Why would you? Why would you ever stop keeping cash flow in your mind and making those improvements? Let's keep going. Here's the 10-point cash flow transformation checklist. We've talked about AR a lot, accounts receivable a lot. How can you improve AR days? There's lots of ways to do it, right? Lots of ways to do it, and not a lot of them are difficult. There's nothing that's difficult or rocket science in there. It's just doing it. How can you improve inventory days? Sometimes you need to get a little more creative when you take a look at inventory. If you don't have inventory, awesome, then let's skip over this one, right? But if you do have any inventory whatsoever, you might have to think creatively, but there are ways of doing it, lots of ways of doing it. How can you improve AP days? It's starting to have conversations with your suppliers and not just arbitrarily tightening things up, having those conversations. How can you raise your average price? As I told you, there's lots of ways to do it. I've even got a pricing course that will help you walk through here and help you do that. How can you improve the efficiency of your cost of goods sold? Right? Inventory is a part of that. Lots of other ways to do that as well. How can you increase the effectiveness of your sales and marketing? There's all kinds of people that can help you out with that. This is fundamental to doing this. This is one of those continuous improvements things, right? Not only because if you do it continuously, like you can continue to find new ways for your business to improve its sales and marketing, but because the sales and marketing techniques and options that are out there are constantly changing, especially the online stuff. I mean, man, every day there's new stuff, right? How can you increase the time and money you spend on sales and marketing? Well, sometimes it's just, if you've got online stuff, you can just increase your budget on your Facebook ads or something like that if you know that it's working. But sometimes it's just, if you're a small business owner and you're the one that's doing the sales and marketing, it's carving out time to be able to spend more time doing the things that will generate new leads and new opportunities and new ways to do it. And again, lots of discussion about how to do that and then how to increase the effectiveness of that as like the previous point. How can you improve the efficiency of your G&A resources, right? So all these basic stuff like your rent and your accounting and your lawyer and some of your basic staff, how can you improve their efficiency? There's money locked up there. Number 9, have you appropriately financed your capital items? I was in a workshop the other day and someone said, oh yeah, I just bought 3 new computers for my staff. I said, how did you buy them? She says, oh, I just ran it through my credit card. I went, no, right? Just paying it out of the cash or financing it expensively through like credit card debt, but just paying it out of cash, right, is really not the wrong thing to do. Those machines are going to last 3 or 4 or 5 years. Go get a business loan. Yeah, it seems funny to do that for $5,000 or $2,000, right? But we start to get in the habit of preserving our cash, and that's the right thing to do. So add a $14 or a $25 or a $50 a month payment every single month, but save that $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and instead spend it in other areas where you get the leverage, like the sales and marketing, like et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to beat those horses to death, right? And have you incorporated? You should be, if you're just going to keep a small little business and working out of your extra room or your extra bedroom and you're never going to grow, then maybe it's not worthwhile. But if you have the interest, if you think that you can grow the business, if you've watched your business start to grow, you know what? You should think about incorporating, because there's some short-term advantages, but there's some real long-term advantages potentially from a tax perspective, and you want to explore those with your accountant and with your lawyer. Okay. We started off 5 videos ago by looking at how bad cash flow, we talked about imagining what bad cash flow does. It creates stress. It impacts your relationships negatively, right? If you're coming home stressed all the time, it's just no good for your home life. If your business is shrinking, if you have to do layoffs, it just compounds the stress. You might be facing bankruptcy, that's awful, both business bankruptcy and if you've got any of this other stuff that you've signed on for personally, the debt or government-related debt, then you might be facing personal bankruptcy. There's depression, self-confidence takes a hit. It's awful, right? Good cash flow we talked about improves all this, makes life worth living, and great cash flow is transformative. It is life-changing, it's community-changing. Imagine after all that we've been through in these last videos, what your business could look like, will look like as you start to make these changes. And then imagine what your life would feel like, what your family's lives would look like when you go to sell it and you get this big tax-free bump in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, right? That's the point that I want to leave you with right now. If you want me to give you a hand, there's a bunch of ways I can do it. First of all, these videos, of course, but also I do a lot of coaching one-on-one with all kinds of entrepreneurs all around the world. So if you think you want some one-on-one help, I guarantee my fee that we can make significant business improvements in your business. I also do coaching with groups, right? So sometimes there's a group of business owners that want to work together. And I think that's, in particular, if you've got a similar type of business, that's an awesome way to do it because you get to reinforce the improvements that you're making and learn from each other. And I facilitate that and bring my own experience to the table as well. That's a great way of doing it. So coaching is profoundly great way of doing things. I have all kinds of courses, software. I do workshops. Hey, if you want me to come in and talk to your group anywhere in the world, English speaking world, because unfortunately that's the only language I speak, on strategy, business planning, value pricing, cash flow. Sometimes the courses, software, even workshops get education credits for your association or your business group, so we could explore that. And again, all of my stuff is absolutely guaranteed. The way to start it all off is just to go to this URL, alexglassy.com/coaching, and start with a free coaching session. Let's go and spend 45 minutes and let's talk about this stuff. Let's talk about your business. Let's talk about your group. Let's talk about what you want, and then we'll come out of that with some kind of suggestions that will help you improve your business's cash flow and the value in your business. Absolutely guaranteed. Well, I hope I met the 3 objectives that I laid out in the very beginning of these videos. The first is that you were entertained, even though this is the most boring topic imaginable. And the second thing is that you got some insight into the power of cash flow. And most importantly of all, that you walked away with several steps that you can immediately start to apply to your own business to unlock the power of your business and increase its value over the medium and the long term. Your business really is the most important asset that you will probably ever own. And by carefully and thoughtfully and deliberately applying these lessons, you can transform its cash flow and its value, and therefore the impact that it's going to make on the lives of you and your family. And I sincerely hope it does. And finally, if you want to talk to me at all about any of this stuff, just look over there, go to that URL, book an appointment with me, and then let's talk. I really hope you do.